As I started to come back to Soho House and I was introducing my new project of creative leaders to old and new friends, almost everyone said the same exact thing. Have you met Carla? Do you know Carla? You should speak to Carla. Hi, I'm Gianluca Cinquepalmi. I'm an educator, design entrepreneur, and author. And this is Creative Leaders at the House. The more complex and complicated our world becomes, the more we need creatives and global thinkers that allows us to inspire, challenge, and disrupt. And today we're going to talk about creativity and social impact with Carla Martinesi. Welcome, Carla. Welcome to the house.
Thank you for having me.
So, Carla, I would love to begin with your business today, which is CHOMP. Can you tell us a little bit about CHOMP and how it became Hong Kong's favorite food sharing app?
So it was quite an interesting journey, but I'll start with what CHOMP is. In case none of you have ever heard of it before, I highly, highly recommend you download it. It's an app that exists in Hong Kong for close to 4 years. We're what we call a food saving app. So what happens in Hong Kong is a lot of restaurants, F&B businesses, they have a lot of surplus food at the end of the day. And what usually happens is that the food gets taken and thrown out and put into our landfills. Hong Kong's faced with quite a big problem where we don't have enough space for our landfills. Our landfills are quickly growing, essentially. And the app acts as a marketplace where you can buy discounted, what we call mystery boxes from F&B retailers, wholesalers, suppliers, anything that would essentially get wasted. You can buy it at a discount and pick it up. You're basically saving 1 kilo of food for every order. And to date, we've saved close to, or actually just past 100,000 kilos of food.
Wow.
So it's a planet saving app. It's an app that helps reduce food waste, and it's an app that does good for the planet, also supports the local businesses, and does good for your wallet too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, I was about to say, it does good to you as well.
Yeah.
And maybe you can get amazing food also. At a very affordable rate.
Yeah. Even places you probably wouldn't try at full price, you can get it at 50% off just to try.
Exactly.
See if you like it and then commit to buying later on. But yeah, it's like a win-win-win solution. There's no downfall, I think.
Carla, like I said in the intro, I actually got to know you through several people and several friends. This is apparently the second podcast we record together. One we produced, one finally as a guest. Your background is in marketing and photography. So as let's call it a canonical creative, right? What drove you to shift the career and not go into an agency or start your own agency and start actually a social enterprise?
I think it's hard to put me as a photographer career with everyone in the room. I feel like I'm really not as good as everyone else. Photography started as a way to pay for student bills during university. I was photographing in nightclubs to pay for my school.
And it was also fun. So
I mean, it was a free ticket. They gave me drinks. It was good. It worked out. My courses took a hit because I was up till 3 a.m. and had an 8 a.m. class. But it was a great period of my life. I learned a lot of skills. And then I learned a lot about pricing and negotiating as well, which I didn't realize at the time, but I think it helped later on. And then afterwards, when I moved to Hong Kong, before that, actually, I had gotten a job in New York in advertising, so experiential marketing. And it was sort of my dream job. It was a job that as soon as I heard what it was, I wanted a job in this field. It was basically experience marketing, working with brands to launch products, but in an experiential kind of way. So just sort of different to advertising, but same category, I guess. And I loved my job in New York. I wanted to find something in Asia that was similar. My mom was from here and I was born here, but I never lived here, and I never properly took the time to learn Cantonese as well. So I wanted to come back and try to do that. So when I basically came back, I came back with the intention of getting a job in experiential marketing, which I did. I landed a job under TBWA, and I thought it was the dream job. But I'm sure anyone who knows experiential marketing and advertising, the hours are brutal, the field is really rough, and the competition is really high. And I worked as a strategist, which I also loved. It was everything about planning and creative thinking. It was things that I really enjoyed doing. I worked under dream brands that I thought I would never be with, like Urban Decay and Chanel and stuff. And unfortunately, over time, I realized that it was just no good because I had worked in hospitality before, then moved to experiential marketing, realized experiential marketing was so far away from F&B, which I really loved at the core as a kid, and had slowly been swept away by the love of like luxury and all these amazing experiences where we could revamp a hotel or we could do a dinner experience for 20 influencers. And I had been sort of caught up in the whole luxury things,
Okay.
which comes with Hong Kong sort of experiential marketing space. And I kind of took a step back where I thought, okay, and I started requesting for more F&B contracts or more hotel contracts. I worked under Marriott for a bit. And I loved that. And then COVID hit,
Okay.
which I'm sure we all know was quite a big hit. And I thought either I can stay here or I can freelance in other agencies.
Yeah.
I ended up deciding to freelance with other agencies. Then I tried to find a full-time job again just because it got a little bit more stable. But then we got hit with the second wave. So I thought, okay, maybe now's not the time. And in this time, I was still thinking about my ties with F&B. I had worked under every job under the sun imaginable because I wanted to know everything about F&B. And if you know me, you know that I don't do anything halfway. I want to know everything and then decide if I like it. So I worked as a ice cream vendor. I worked as a waitress in a luxury hotel. And I remembered all these memories where I thought those were difficult times, but I really enjoyed it. I really loved being with food and tied with customers and hearing their story and what their favorite moments were. It was so different to luxury.
Was just the food, or was also the relationship between food and serving people and helping people?
I think it was sort of everything, hospitality that was under that umbrella.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I'm trying to make a picture on trying to connecting the dots of what led you to actually found a social enterprise.
It
So
was
now
kind of
it's
sort of
happening,
everywhere. Yeah. It sounds as a chaotic journey, I think, because I was also on this path where I didn't know what it is. I mean, I knew what I liked and what I didn't like, but I didn't understand fully. So at this point, we're in our second wave during COVID, and I had just quit my job. I was doing part-time in other agencies, and I was explaining to my friend that essentially something that I've noticed in Hong Kong is that we are not a very sustainable city. So, but I grew up most of my life in Switzerland, which is very sustainable. And I had been struggling over the last year, at that point in time of the last year, that I had to unlearn a lot of sustainable things.
Sure.
Had to unlearn the amount of plastic that I was being faced with. There was no composting at the time, or not free composting, essentially. Either you had to pay a subscription or you had to go travel somewhere for quite a while. I'm sure Bobsy can shed a light on that as well later. And it was a difficult moment where I felt like I was losing my roots that was essentially Switzerland and the way I grew up sustainable. And then I was also faced with all these contracts or projects that I just didn't love. And I wanted to go back to F&B. So I started to dive into some more information about where we are in Hong Kong and how sustainable it is. And then that's kind of when I found that actually the biggest problem in Hong Kong is food waste versus anything like plastic waste or tech waste or fashion waste. Food waste makes up about 40% of the Hong Kong's landfills. So I thought there must be something there. And so the idea for CHOMP came from there.
From there.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I mean, you could have chosen so many different things like recycling, but you were able to create a connection between your passion for F&B impact, but also the entrepreneurial mindset. And a follow-up is, as a creative, let's say, born creative, and now as a business owner, that, you know, creativity or product development is one part of the equation, and now you have to deal with many things, right? With production, with sale, with distribution, with connection, with PR. What's the role of creativity once you stop just the you might have some peaks of because you launch a campaign or you have to come up with a new product. What's the role of creativity, and how do you use creativity in other aspects of your job?
Loaded question.
Loaded question. Can be. I mean,
I think it's a little bit everywhere in our daily lives. I think it also comes down to having to look at a to-do list. We're a team of 2, by the way. So we've been a team of 2 for about 4 years.
Okay.
And it rotates. Sometimes we're 3, sometimes we go back to 2, but we're mostly
But you also
2.
have an ecosystem and a lot of people you work with.
We have a lot of partners. We have friends of businesses and who love us, and they volunteer their time. They also give us really great ideas. So when we partner together, the partnership is amazing. So we've been really grateful for that. And I think that has made a massive impact. And I think that comes down to also creativity, right? If I come in with an idea saying, I think we need to do something for Chinese New Year, most of the time what would happen is in a normal agency, I think you would have a proposal, you would sit down, you would kind of come up with the initial sketch, or what happened to me before was I would come up with the initial sketch or initial plan or idea of what the thing should be or campaign should be. And then I would bring it to the project team, see if it's feasible and whatnot. But when you're a team of 2 and only one of you is sort of like the founder, the other one is coming in 9 to 6, it's a little bit difficult to convey the same idea, right? So I think it takes a little bit of creativity with no budget, with no resources, or you have some resources, but they're not as infinite as you would be in an agency where you could have 3 project managers, or you could have a photographer in-house, and it's a little bit easier. So I think it comes down to timing. Timing, when your time is constrained, your budget's constrained, creativity is the only thing you have left. That when you're backed up against the wall, you go, okay, how do we get out of this? And I think that has been sort of our saving grace all these years, which is we had no budget. We had very little resources. I left advertising, experiential marketing 5 years ago, maybe. So the information I know today is nowhere near the information that agencies have today. So my creative thinking has really taken a turn. And yeah, so I think it's really come down to that.
In my book, I say that to me, real creativity actually comes from constraints. No?
Yeah,
so
true.
when you have a lot of constraints and you need to work around, because there is this, I think, especially for younger generations or students, you know, I've been having a background in academia for a long time. We often confuse freedom and creativity, right? So creativity is an act, is something that we do. And having constraints sometimes actually forces and fuels creativity in that sense.
No,
I think.
Completely agree. And I think I probably wouldn't have said it in day one. But I think now looking back at all these projects that we've come up, or sort of, I call them mini projects because they fall under CHOMP, but they don't fall under CHOMP the app. They fall under CHOMP the company. So one of the projects that we worked on was the Rescued Feast, which is a experience dinner where we collect leftover food scraps, things like potato peels, egg whites, from a lot of ramen restaurants that only use egg yolks, from pasta restaurants that only use egg yolks. So we'll collect things like egg whites, beef trimmings, excess stock from hot pot restaurants, things like that. And we will challenge chefs around Hong Kong to come up with a dinner for about 100 or 200 people.
Oh, wow.
But this only came to be when someone came to us from a restaurant and said, I have all these things and I don't think they're going to do well on the app. Can you come up with another idea?
Sure.
So I think when you're backed up going, I can't sell this product. This vendor wants to work with us, but are restricted because they want to work with us completely versus only their perfect looking surplus food that can go in the app. I think there's some sort of idea there. You know, there's an idea there. You don't have a lot of resources. You have a network of chefs that are willing to give their time or want to challenge. You have a community of, we were close to about 90,000 people who are interested in doing something new. So of course it comes down to what can you come up with, right?
Yeah.
I put it into ChatGPT recently to see if they would come up with a rescued feast, and they haven't.
Well, that's good. That's good.
But, you know, it is kind of, I would go back and say, like, can you come up with an idea for a campaign for Chinese New Year? Can you come up with an idea for a postering service? And I think creativity, like you said, it's really when you're backed up against a wall.
So when you started launching CHOMP, which is an innovative idea or is something totally new, or what are the challenges when you present a vision that is new, innovative, or nobody really thought about, or they thought about in other, you know, in Milan there is a similar service that is more about, I think, second round, or I forgot the name actually, but so the question is, how did you convey the vision and the idea? And two, you are very young, so no, it is a factor, because I started my own company when I was 22.
Me too.
Yeah, and also, and I remember that I had to I hired a salesman.
Yeah, I did that too. Her name was Gemma.
That was
older,
so that you could. And I was the creative guy, no, and he was at the time the company was doing strategic engineering. So
actually, it's almost exactly the same. I think at the beginning, I basically had a PDF of a photoshopped version of what the app was going to be. I basically took mock-ups and then screenshotted Deliveroo and had basically photoshopped it so that it would look, obviously the functions are completely different, so it would look similar to what I wanted it to do. I couldn't hire an app developer, so I basically had photoshopped this mock-up, and then I put it in a PowerPoint and said, if you're a business, this is what we can do, and these are the predicted outcomes of how much you can save, and we understand that you have food surplus, X, Y, and Z. This is what you could do if you had extra sandwiches. This is what you could do if you had extra soup, things like that. I basically went door knocking to not every restaurant, but a lot of restaurants on Hong Kong Island with a iPad and a PDF. And I said, the app is launching soon. I didn't lie. It was like maybe 4 months down the line, essentially 6 months down the line. And I said, the app is launching soon. We'd love to work with you for a pilot. We won't charge anything, just because I wanted to start with something.
Sure.
I had put up a wait list on our website. So we had a milestone goal of 200 users and then 20 restaurants. So the idea was that if we had 200 users, they would have about 20 restaurants to choose from. Vice versa, 20 restaurants, they could sell to about 200 people, is my way of thinking.
Sure.
The ratio should have been bigger, but it is what it is. And so I basically went door to door. It was extremely embarrassing. I talk about this story a lot, about how I'm not a very good salesperson, I think. And Gemma was my first hire because she was much older and I was getting kicked out of restaurants. So saying like, either you buy something or you leave. And so obviously after 50 restaurants, you can't buy everything. So I just ended up coming back and saying, I'll come back at 3, at 4 when I know you've got less customers, and try to come back. And I try to set it up as a meeting so that I didn't essentially have to buy anything. I could just say, tell me a little bit about yourself and I'd love to learn more and stuff. But yeah, I think it was very difficult. Essentially, the idea for CHOMP is not new. It exists in other parts of the world, but even in Hong Kong, it is similar to things like Facebook Marketplace and Carousel. Like the technology is not new, right?
Sure.
It was applied to a new problem that people had not really been aware of. I think food waste is kind of a hidden secret in Hong Kong, and people don't really talk about it. Yeah.
If you had a lot of funding, let's say,
millionaire,
would you, now that you have gone through all these steps, would you have done the same thing?
No.
Like bootstrapping or no?
Well, we didn't bootstrap. We started with a grant, which
Okay,
was
okay, good.
which helped build the app, right?
Okay.
And let me hire this girl. But if I was a millionaire, I would have done something totally different. I would have probably gone to CTO, who could have probably done the app in house. Probably would have been cheaper. The grass is always greener. Maybe it wasn't cheaper. I don't know, but I would have hired a bigger sales team so that we would have done more strategic partners first that could actually co-collaborate. One of the best marketing streams that I've realized is co-collaborating on a campaign with new vendors, but not all vendors have the same budget and not all vendors are interested. So, for example, we partnered with Calvin Shangri-La. They said, we'll match your budget. How much can you put in? We said, we'll put in 10K. Can you put in remaining 10K? We'll put out a press release. We'll hire a photographer. We'll hire some influencers. And then we broke down the funding. That campaign went viral. But those are the kind of things I would do if I had money. But if I didn't have money, which tends to be the 99% other cases, then you have to think outside the box. But if I was a millionaire, I would have done that. Yeah.
I would like to dive a little bit deeper on the sustainability part. I mean, like we discussed before, and what is the fine line between, allow me the term, greenwashing and doing a socially responsible business, which is still a business, meaning that, in my view, and I don't want to, praise you too much, right? But, CHOMP can function as a business and can be a profitable business. And like you said, it's good for all stakeholders because it's good for the restaurant, it's good for the user, it's good for you because a business owner, if it explodes, you can hire other people. So beside the social aspect of the app, there is a viability business aspect of the app that still is viable, right? So how do you communicate that is not just greenwashing? It's not like, you have to, it's like, it's in a sense, how do you pitch the fact that it's not a charity, is actually a sustainable business? It's just a business that takes care of an unseen or understood problem.
I think perspective is everything. Modernizing the way that it looks has changed a lot, so that people don't think that we're sort of on a tight budget and more charity side. We're quite transparent with our fees with our restaurants, so they themselves know that this is a platform to use versus a charity. Their attitude is different. We've had instances where restaurants have treated our friends in charities quite badly because when the people come to collect the excess food, they'll just, for example, throw it at them and say like, oh, it's always for charity, and the attitude's quite bad. So we do a big briefing. We explain that it's different. And so that's one thing. Another thing as well is branding. We steer very far away from the green, blue colors. The reason for this is because, especially today, we're in a day and age where there is a lot of greenwashing, and there's a lot of brands that will tint their logo green just to do Earth Day, or they'll pledge certain things. And I think it's really difficult to stand out from the ones that are actually doing good work. Of course, there are transparency things where you can actually put out numbers and show that you're actually doing good work. But I think only people who are very committed to researching can only see this information.
Okay, interesting. So that's an angle.
Yeah. And I think sustainability also is not always coincide with profit, right? So those are also companies that don't have thousands of dollars that they can market that they are doing really good things. So our colors are usually pink and red, which is more leaning towards food apps and hunger, things like that. So it's trying to be more like an everyday habit versus a lot of people. We did a research in Hong Kong. It's a personal research based on our users, but about 65% of our users, if I'm not mistaken, 65% of our users use the app not because they're sustainable.
Sure.
So because it's a discount, and so we try to put it that way. But those users also commented they don't care about sustainability, which means that we're not attracting these people because they are sustainable warriors or they want to be more eco-friendly. And in Hong Kong, it's difficult to change that mindset. So it's almost better to benefit from the other angle, which is discounts and whatnot. When you order from Chomp, at the bottom of the receipt, you get something like, "Thank you for saving the planet." It's a small reminder that basically says we're still sustainable. We're still a sustainable company. And it tracks your order saying that you've saved a kilo of food from going to waste. So it's just small things that says, even though you've chosen to use the app for a different reason, a reminder that you've also done something sustainable that has actually made an impact. But again, like you said, it's very difficult to change the mindset or to even advertise completely that it's just sustainable. But social impact can come in many different ways, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you believe, and you know how much I love the city and the community that we live in? Do you believe that part of the success of Chomp is due to the habits and the infrastructure also of Hong Kong? If I'm not mistaken, like a lot of Hong Kong people order takeout. If you were in the northern part of Italy in a small town, this wouldn't have happened.
No.
You know, so there are some dynamics that are peculiar for a metropolis. Let's say with Hong Kong, because people live very close. They are super busy. They work long hours, so the takeout food is something that I don't remember the actual data, but it was a very big number. Like on average, the average Hong Kong family eats out or does take out like 3 or 4 times a week. So also because space, kitchen as small, education. So either you go out to celebrate, so you go to the restaurant for social purposes, or the takeout is just a very convenient way. So
it's cheap.
Yeah. So is that an ecosystem that we also need to map in when we start new projects, like designing for context as well?
Yeah. We did market research before we launched. Otherwise, it would have been a waste of money to launch. We did market research. We wanted to get as much information as possible, like I said, to see spending habits, eating habits, also time habits. When do you eat? We found that a lot of people don't eat at normal times, especially in Italy, where we usually take 2-3 hours to eat. Specifically at...
I don't know which part of Italy you're from. From Milan, that's not happening.
I know, we're from the south, so it's very long. We have a siesta that basically takes up half the afternoon. But apart from that, I grew up in I think it's something like 5,000 people town in Switzerland. There is not much there. So if I was to build Chomp there, it would have died in the first couple months. Like, there's just not enough. It's an aging population. There's not enough even restaurants to people ratio in Hong Kong, where I think it might have gone down, but pre-COVID it was 8
to
restaurants
1
per person.
Wow.
It might have changed over COVID, but that's one of the main reasons, one of the main numbers that made me go, I think we can make Chomp.
I believe so.
But in Switzerland, it's something like half or something. I'm guessing because I haven't really looked, but just living there, you already know there's not enough restaurants. So yeah, I think it was multiple factors, like you said, proximity, number of restaurants available, number of people who eat at different hours where the restaurant has to stay open for that long. Late diners, early breakfast goers. You have people eating breakfast at 6 a.m. all the way until 11 a.m. You still can buy breakfast at 11 a.m. almost everywhere in Hong Kong. Also, Hong Kong is one of the few places in Asia that still serve afternoon tea, which is a special meal period, unless you're from the UK, which I was not familiar with, but it's the special meal between 3 and 5, right? And then dinner starts at 6. You're almost always eating.
Yeah.
So why not?
This is the Hong Kong way.
I mean, I'm not complaining. It's fine.
Carla, I always like to close our conversation with a small fire round.
Okay.
So in less than 5 words, what inspires you?
The city of Hong Kong and the people.
Okay. what challenges you or what keeps you on your toes? Or
Lack of budget.
like,
Very much on my toes.
and what do you want to disrupt, or what is your view of disruption for good, for growth?
More women in tech, I think.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing. Carla, thank you so much. This was Creative Leaders at the House. I'm Gianluca Cimpepalmi. Shout out to our production studio, That Good Studio. Thank you, Soho House Hong Kong, for this amazing opportunity to share these discussions. I believe Instagram is CHOMP
Food app.
CHOMP Food App.
Yeah.
And Carla, I'm looking forward to see how you're gonna disrupt the food waste market. Thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.